Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar about our global survey on online wine tasting. We're very happy to have you all here, and I can begin by saying that we're a little bit ahead of schedule, so this is a good sign, Gergely. We are very punctual, you and I, a bit too punctual, perhaps. And I know we have people joining us across several channels. We are on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. And we're very happy to have all of you join us. You'll notice that we have a chat function available. So, of course, we want you to leave comments and ask us questions. And also let us know if you have any technical issues during the webinar. We hope not, but if you do, you can always leave a comment for us. And we will try to fix it as soon as possible. Also, we will have this webinar recorded, and we will shortly post in the chat a link where you can find the recording if you would like to view it later, or if you have friends or colleagues that you know don't have the availability right now but want to view us at their own disposal. And with no further ado, I thought I would introduce us and then get into the survey. My name is Niklas and Gergely, and I'm the project manager at winetourism.com. We're a global online marketplace for wine tourism experiences. We have from Geisenheim University, Gergely, and he will shortly tell us a little bit about him and his team. But from our side, it's me, Niklas and Gergely, and it's been a collaboration with my colleague, Kalle Nilsson. And we're very happy to have collaborated with Geisenheim. Gergely, tell us a little bit about your team.
Thank you very much, Niklas. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome from Germany. To be more precise, welcome from my office at the university. My name is Gergely Szolnoki. I'm professor of market research at the university. And yeah, it was not only me from the Geisenheim University. It was also Maximilian Tafel and Marvin Blass who participated in the whole study and helped us from the Geisenheim University side to put together this presentation, put together the final report. Very briefly to the university, Geisenheim University, for those who never heard about this. This is it was the very first, back to 1872, very first research and education center specialized on wine in Germany, and nowadays with lots of institutes, lots of students still existing. And I'm representing today the Department of Wine and Beverage Business Research. And we are looking forward to showing you, presenting you our results of this survey.
Yeah, it's been a great collaboration. We've on the data collection, and then from the university, it's been a bit more focused on the data analysis. But we've been helping each other out on both parts. So I want to start by asking you, Gergely, why are we doing this survey, online wine tasting? Why now? And why has this question come up? And why do you think this is important and interesting to address?
Yeah, those who know how wine tourism works, they know it very well that cellar door tasting, cellar door sales, is of enormous importance when it comes to direct sales of a winery. And during lockdown, when it was not possible, as we all know. And we conducted also some previous researches, meaning qualitative research. And we realized that the innovative and widely used strategy of different wineries around the world was actually online wine tasting. It was one of the most innovative and widely used strategy to overcome the crisis and the losses on the crisis. And so it was for us a kind of sign that the topic is interesting, the topic is sexy, let's say, and we wanted to just see this how different wineries global on a global scale took this advantage and used this digital solution for wine.
And speaking of questions, I forgot to mention at the beginning, we will of course have time for your questions after Gergely and I have gone through the report. So if you have anything that you would like to know, just put it up in the chat in the comments, and we will try to address it at the end, given that we have enough time. I think we can jump to the first picture. So the survey. A global survey, as you can see. We had over 1,400 wineries, which is fantastic. And I think this is a good point to thank all of the wineries that have participated, and also all the wine organizations that we've been in touch with which have helped us disseminate this report. So I know we're really, really happy about the turnout, and it makes the report that much stronger when you have a large sample size. It's from 42 different countries. There's been an emphasis on Europe, as you can see here. Germany, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, and I think Austria are the biggest countries represented in the survey, and particularly Germany and Italy. So for all those wineries from Germany and Italy listening, you have good representation here. Maybe you'll recognize yourself in the data we go through. In the New World, we're really happy to have participation there as well. I think it was no more than 100 wineries from these countries, so that's good, and we can always have more for next time. But I hope you can draw some conclusions as well from this report. I can also mention quickly in the circle you see down in the right side, this is the distribution of answers by winery size in hectares, and it's quite an even distribution. So we had both small wineries and we had bigger wineries answering this survey. So in that sense, it was very egalitarian. And I want to ask you then, going into the survey, Gergely, what has been the data collection strategy here? How have you decided to collect data?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to repeat what you already mentioned, that we were very positively surprised that so many wineries participated in the survey, a high number of answers. The strategy was, of course, like always, collecting as much data as possible. It was also the strategy. So to be able to deal with a large sample, and with the help of winetourism.com and different international organizations and associations, at this stage, thank you very much for the contribution. We really managed to get more than 1,400. Another point we wanted to, or we emphasized, or I wanted to emphasize is that we wanted to get actually a heterogeneous pattern, a heterogeneous sample from different countries to be able to compare cross-cultural differences or the differences by sites and so on. And maybe it's also important to mention that it was a probability sampling, an online probability sampling. It means that our data doesn't represent 100% the whole wine of world and all of the wineries all over the world, because it would be, let's say, more or less impossible. However, this data gives kind of first insights into the topic, again, on the global scale, on the global level. As Niklas already mentioned, we were able to compare 7 different countries with each other and with the rest of the world. So we have exactly the chance, we have had the chance to compare the cultural differences and the differences between European countries and New World countries.
Perfect. And if we let's dive a bit deeper into the next slide. And here, I think this is I like this one. I like the iceberg. Perhaps there's some symbolism you will explain shortly for us, Gergely. But I will just mention briefly what was one of the main findings here. Well, of the surveyed wineries, 39% did offer online wine tastings, and 61% did not offer online wine tastings. Am I reading this right, Gergely?
Yeah, that's correct. So we took actually this example of an iceberg because of course we conducted a survey on online wine tastings, but our aim was not only analyzing those who hosted online wine tasting, but also those wineries they haven't. And as you can see here, and this is more realistic picture what you can see here, that on the top we have approximately 1/3 of wineries in our sample. They hosted online wine tastings, and the remaining 2/3, which is also a massive base in the background, let's say, they haven't tried it so far. But let's wait until the end of the presentation, because you will see how this 2/3, the remaining part of those who haven't hosted online wine tastings, they react when it comes to the further future activities. And yeah, this is actually what I want to tell you. Yeah, sorry.
Can I ask, Gerge, is this then the ones that do offer online wine tastings? I mean, we are in the middle of Corona. I don't think that has gone anybody by. Why are they offering online wine tastings? Is it because of Corona?
Yeah, it looks like. We some of you maybe still remember that the very first, or one of the very first recorded online wine tasting goes back to 2001, where Geisenheim University, actually Robert Leonards and Professor Schulz, organized the first Riesling online tasting. It's 19 years ago by now, and lots and not a lot of things happened actually in this field. Yeah, it was the very first one, 2001, but I can't say, we can't say that after this event, lots of wineries came up with different online wine tastings. It is exactly an effect and a side effect of the COVID pandemic, and we can see that 92% of our wineries we had in our survey, they stated that they started offering online wine tasting in 2020, actually in the year of the pandemic, and when the lockdown came, and only 8% said, okay, it was actually, we also did it before, but it's you can see this is a tiny part of this. And when we put together this questionnaire, this online questionnaire with winetourism.com, then we had different aims and different topics we wanted to analyze. And you can see here we have more questions for those who offer or who offered online wine tasting, like what was the reason, how successful was it, what was the target group, what about the technical data, how they advertised this event, what about the willingness to continue, and the most important point is, of course, the profitability, how profitable it was. And for those who haven't hosted this so far, then we have only two main parts, two main topics. Actually, the reason why they haven't done this, and then of whether they could imagine to start something like this in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when you're doing a survey about online wine tastings, it is hard to ask the wineries that don't do online wine tastings a lot of relevant questions. So, but we did ask them, like you say, we tried to get some information, and then primarily why they're not doing it. And can we say anything, any kind of high level conclusions then, if we look at some of these countries we mentioned earlier? Does it look the same across countries in this distribution of those offering and not offering?
Yeah, funnily, and I would say fortunately, because this is what market researchers always willing to see differences, and already at this point we can see some differences. regarding the countries and the different cultures. What you can see here is that we have above average of share of online wine tastings among the countries or in the countries USA, Germany, and Spain. We have more or less an average of 30% approximately of those who offer online wine tasting in Austria, Portugal, and Italy. And interestingly, and this surprised us also when we analyzed the data in France, or at least those who participated in the survey from France, we had only a share of approximately 20% or less than 20% of those who offered online wine tasting last year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really interesting, and it's the kind of answers you get from the survey where you think, I wish we had more time to delve into this for each country. But maybe you can tell us something quickly about your home country, Gergely. Do you have any speculation as to why Germany is why a high proportion of German wineries did offer online wine tastings?
It's quite complicated. Fortunately, we have some insights. Actually, Moritz Lüge, who wrote his Master of Wine dissertation on the same topic, but focused on Germany. We have some findings, and combined with all findings, we can have some points. I would talk about. The first point is actually in Germany, in the German wine tourism, we have a high share of domestic consumers, domestic guests. And this is the core target group is in the same country than the wineries. So it's easier to reach these consumers. The other one is not only in Germany, is also, for example, in USA or in other newer countries, the quick adoption of wineries. What we saw when the lockdown came, then we saw that digitalization has been accelerated very quickly and very massive. And I would say this on the wave of this digital revolution, the wineries detected also this possibility. And Germany, it looks like they were one of the innovative wineries they had it, and also some support from the industry, because the pioneers they have been supported here in Germany by the German Wine Institute. They created an extra web page with the offers of online wine tastings, and also two major newspapers took up this topic, Spiegel and FAZ, and it was not a promotion, but it was not an advertisement, but they talked about this, they wrote about this, and this is how people recognize this option, and it was a positive influencing.
Perfect. Yes, there seems to be another awareness of the phenomenon in Germany, if nothing else. And I leave it up to our viewers. Feel free if you have your own hypotheses. If you see your country up here, maybe there are some French wineries who would like to take a stab at the lower proportion of online wine tastings being hosted in their countries. Right. Let's see here. We also asked the wineries, what was the purpose, or what did you want to get out of your online wine tasting? And we talked a little bit earlier about the profitability, of course. I think these reasons are quite logical and straightforward. There's the marketing value. It's to replace other canceled events, to acquire new customers, strengthen customer loyalty, or to increase direct sales. These all make sense. I think what's a bit striking here is there's no one reason that stands out. And my theory was, and I want to get your opinion on this, Gergely, is it's a new phenomenon. Maybe it's hard to know what to expect. I mean, was there? Do you think maybe this is a reflection? Just saying, well, maybe online wine tasting can help us with all of this. Maybe this is some kind of ambiguity in the expectations on the part of the wineries. How would you interpret this result?
It might be. So actually, this balanced pie chart, what we're presenting here, was also another surprise we haven't expected in this form. And as you said, I think online wine tasting, due to the fact that it's a completely new tool. People just started exactly 1 year ago. At least 92% of people just started 1 year ago. Dealing with this online wine tasting, and of that, so it's really hard to have expectation when you.
There, Gergely, I'm afraid your sound disappeared. The irony is conceivable because we're hosting an online event about online wine tasting. So for all our viewers, this is totally planned, and this is just to illustrate for you some of the perils that you might be encountering when you do an online event.
What about now?
I think we've scared them enough, Gergely. I think we scared them enough. Good timing. You're back.
I just changed the microphone. Okay, so this is what I don't need anymore. So, guys, just back to the point. It was. It is still an unknown tool, and the people are unsure what kind of expectation they could have, and so maybe that's the reason behind this, that they don't have enough experience, and haven't have enough time for the orientation. Another point is actually why we see here a balance. Could be that we use the kind of or producers use a kind of a all-in-one tool. They have lots of expectations, they have lot of aims, lot of goals with this, and they put everything in this online tool. And it looks like that it really works because, and this is what I want to show you at the end of this slide, that 92% of the wineries achieved fully or at least partly their goals. So it could be that it's an unknown tool. It could be that the expectations are also a little bit unsure, but it looks like that this all-in-one strategy, that having different expectations and having different goals and aims with this, it worked. It worked as a tool, and it worked perfectly because, again, only 8% of the wineries we interviewed, they said they haven't achieved their goals, but the remaining huge part, they said yes, they did.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great to hear. So it does seem whether or not one has insight into what online wine tastings can or should achieve, the results are highly positive. So good. I think we can move on to the next slide. Perfect. Now we get into, for all you data nerds out there, and I love these kinds of slides, and there's a lot of material that you can dig out of these. Here are some more of the technical dimensions of the wine tastings. When we started asking the wineries, well, what do the actual wine tastings look like that you host, the online wine tastings? You know, what are their characteristics? And I think from this you can build up a picture of what maybe we can call a typical or a wine tasting, or what is a normal online wine tasting look at like if you just look at the distribution of the answers. So what can we tell from this picture, Gergely?
So what we can tell is, as you can see, we have lots of numbers here. And let's start with the first one, number of online wine tastings. What you can see here is that we have more than 50% of the wineries, they offered something like this only several times. Because you have to imagine the following situation. Online wine tasting is not something what you can do on Monday and maybe on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. You cannot, because it's too boring, it's a repetition and so on. So you need a certain distance between two wine tastings. This is one point. The other point is that several wineries tried out online wine tastings and just wanted to check how it works, and then that's the reason we have a huge amount of wineries. They tried it only once. We have some experienced wineries. They really did more than 5. This is the second category, is still 1/3, which is also a good result, 35%. They organized more than 5, between 6 and 20, and you can see more than 20. There is no many wineries they did it or they offer it. Regarding the length of the wine tastings, so what we can see here is not the shortest one. So the wineries were able to feed and to fill with content the different wine tastings, which is actually a good thing. Wine tasting is not only drinking wine; it's more entertainment, getting information from wineries and so on. And it looks like that it worked, yeah. But you know as well that offering something online which is more than 1.5 hours is also not a good deal. Participants per tasting, we see here that also many smaller groups participated in the meeting, but I want to stress at this stage that there is a difference, or there are differences depending on the fact whether the winery offer a wine tasting for B2B or B2C consumers or customers. Yeah, and this is the next slide we're going to talk about. And the last one, Zoom rocks.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about this. Why is Zoom so dominating here? Do you have you had time to think about that, any, Gergely?
Actually, what we realized, and this is not a wine-related topic, what we realized, and I'm pretty sure that lots of our participants do agree with this, what we realized that Zoom is kind of winner, or one of the main winners of the pandemic in all fields, because when you see teaching, meetings, and so on, all of these events, they're running from the very beginning very often in Zoom. And I would say the wine industry took over this pattern, what they saw in other fields. And to be honest, we all know that Zoom is user-friendly, so good quality, extra option to change the background, free version for those they want to keep it short and don't want to have lots of people to invite, but also affordable price, also for not bigger things. No installation needed for those who receive the link. This is also important. And clear and easy function of the moderation. So I would summarize the reasons for these very positive results of Zoom like this.
Yeah, perfect. And I see that in our comments there's a very lively discussion about the kind of technical platform that you can use for this. So I'm gonna enjoy reading through those a bit later. Speaking of the type of wine tasting and your expectations, depending on if it was B2B or B2C, we saw here in the next slide, Gergely, that there was a bit of a difference between the types of tastings that were offered. And can you tell us anything more about the different types of tastings as they are divided between B2B and B2C? Or did we just lose you? Oh dear. Let me check out in the private chat. And we have lost Gergely on the connection. Well, this is the kind of things that we try to be prepared for. And while we wait for guys, Gergely, you keep scaring me tonight. I was gonna go off script, but I think we're trying the fine line of keeping everybody in suspense, and it's still bordering on the side of entertainment value. So good for us. I don't know if you heard my question, but I wanted you to talk a little bit more about different types of wine tastings, how they relate to what is B2C and what is B2B, and if anybody is offering a combination of the two.
Yeah, what we saw here is there is a wide combination of different B2B, B2C, B2B and B2C online wine tastings, and this one was kind of very surprising results, because again, back to this previous surveys conducted in Germany. In Germany, we have a huge share of B2C, and this is also what we see: Germany, Spain, and the USA higher. But on the other hand, we have also a very high share of business to business contact. Regarding here in this case Portugal and Austria, and a combination of B2B, B2C, but mainly B2B in France. And this is what surprises, and we don't know. We have just ideas why it was like this, and I would say maybe for Germany it was kind of talking about the reasons why they started, why the German companies started online wine tasting. One of the main point was actually to increase the sale, or increase sales, and the other one getting new consumers and getting new customers. So, and the easiest way, of course, in this case is using B2C. But in other countries, we all know that all the most important business meetings, like Pro Wine Vinitaly, Bordeaux Wine Fair, and so on, they were all postponed last year. So there were a huge lack of platforms. We wanted to, or they wanted to feel with online wine tasting, and that's the reason they invited business partners just to present the latest vintage, just to present the new wines, just to talk about things. And in this case, we're talking about business to business meetings. This is not entertainment. This is not having fun and so on. This is hardcore business journey, let's say, with negotiations, with tastings and so on. So it replaced actually the business as usual, in this case, business as not usual, in an online form.
Right. Maybe they have a little bit of fun still in the business to business, I should hope. And I think we can actually flip onto the next slide, because we're getting a little bit onto this topic. And this one is for me, really interesting to look at. And I think for all of us, the question's kind of been hanging in the air. Okay, these online wine tastings, it's a new phenomenon, but is it worth it? I mean, if you look at the bottom line, and is it worth it for wineries to offer online wine tastings? Is this a profitable phenomenon? And what can we say about this, Gergely? I'm afraid you're on mute still, Gergely.
Yes, it is. It is a profitable business. It doesn't mean the same time when you run online wine tasting 2 times a week, then you will be rich. You can quit your job and go to the Bahamas or whatever. So it's not the main meaning behind profitability. But what we can see here, this actually is that only 6% of those who participated in the survey said it is unprofitable. So it's very tiny part. Another 38% said no monetary benefits. And we analyzed also this data. Who are, or which wineries said that they haven't had any kind of monetary benefits, and they were mainly those who offered B2B online wine tastings, meaning that when you have B2B business, this is not a short-term profitability. This is mainly a middle or a long-term profitability, and getting fresh money is you can manage if you work together with consumers in online wine tasting. And this is a remaining 56%. They said yes, online wine tastings are profitable, and they really like doing this.
When you look at what is a profitable winery, we looked a couple of slides ago. What is a typical online wine tasting? If you consider those factors, I'm thinking the length of the tasting, maybe the number of participants, maybe the platform used. But if you look at these characteristics of what is a typical online wine tasting, how does that match up against what is a profitable online wine tasting? Are there any differences?
I would explain the most important factors by using this picture. I just clicked on and appeared on the screen, and this should show you the four most important dimensions or factors which influence significantly the profitability or the not profitability of an online wine tasting. The first one is the communication factor. We analyzed also the channels wineries communicated in and on about and did advertisement about the online wine tastings, and the more channels they used, we realized that the more profitable was the online wine tasting. So I think it has some kind of correlation, very strong correlation also with the other point, larger group targeting more participants, because the more communication you use, the more people you target at the same time. Then the target group, the next one, is of course, we already mentioned that B2B is mainly this middle or long-term effect and profitability, and B2C can, if you organize it in a proper way and the best way, can bring you fresh money actually directly. It's a short-term profitability, let's say. Length of tasting, this has something to do with the time. So we realized that those who offer only half an hour or 45 minutes of wine tasting, they couldn't sell lots of wines after or before or during the tasting, compared to those who have a longer term or longer time period. And the larger group, as I already mentioned, of course, this is also quite normal. That the more people joining your online tasting, the higher is the possibility that more wine will be sold.
When you look at these factors, I mean, for me, it seems to be a bit more of everything, right? You want the longer tasting, you want the larger groups, you want more communication channels. So two questions. One is, are there certain types of wineries which have better capability to offer these kinds of online wine tastings, these profitable online wine tastings? And I suppose what I'm really asking is it easier for bigger wineries to offer profitable online wine tastings? And my other question is, besides the size of the winery, are there any differences between countries? Have we seen that there are some countries that have been more successful in hosting profitable online wine tastings?
Let's start with the second part of your question and concentrating now on the countries or cross-cultural differences. Interestingly, we have two winners, let's say, and one of this is Germany, and the other one is the United States. They had a very high share of profitability. What we have here on average 56%. We are much higher in Germany, much higher in the US. And it has something to do, again, back to the target group question. It has something to do with the question, what is your target group? And again, this fresh money, short-term profitability, and so on. These are countries, they had a high share of B2C contacts. Yeah, so business
Right.
to consumers, so end consumers who they're targeted. And those, for example, Austria or France, they were mainly in the middle field, saying that that no monetary benefits. They targeted more the business people. And now, talking about the first part of your question, yes, it was really interesting to see that bigger wineries they organized more wine tastings with bigger groups, and also this one, when you consider it, this is it shouldn't be huge. Yeah, we have also small wineries. They had success with a huge success with online wine tastings. So, and here in this case, we can see that bigger wineries normally they have a huge database of consumers, yeah, of end consumers they can contact, yeah. But also smaller wineries, when they have the opportunity or when they have the chance to contact a larger group of end consumers, they can also have the same level of high level of success.
I think it's really interesting, and this is one of the takeaways from the surveys, which I hope other wineries and other actors find useful as well, or at least as a guide to how online wine tastings can be hosted and what to expect. Speaking of what to expect, I think on the next slide we have a bit of a summary question, or a summary of, well, what do people expect from online wine tastings? And of course, we had these two groups we talked about in the beginning. We have wineries who do offer online wine tasting, and then we have wineries who don't. And for each group, we asked the question, well, will you continue? Will you continue with online wine tastings? Or for the group that is not hosting anything now, would you be open to starting to host online wine tastings? And what can we say about the distribution of answers for these two groups, Gergely, the wineries that are currently hosting and the ones who are currently not hosting?
Yeah, it was a very positive result. We haven't expected in this form. Let's focus maybe on the very first, on the left-hand side of this slide, wineries with online wine tasting. Yeah. What we can see here, that only 3% said, no way, I tried it 1 or 2 times or whatever, and I don't want to continue this. The remaining 2/3, they said yes, for sure. And 1/3, another 1/3, they said maybe, yeah. So I would say it's a very positive result. And what we see here is also that online wine tasting is a hot topic. Also, those who never hosted wine tastings, online wine tastings before, and this is what you can see on the right-hand side. Also, those 13% of them said, yes, I will do it definitely in the future. And 2/3, yes, say maybe I will do it. So for them also is a sexy hot topic. They haven't done it before, but maybe they want to try it out. And there are several reasons for this. This is easy to organize, not a huge technical challenge. Reaching new consumers, time, effectiveness. We know it from the qualitative survey from Maurice Lucke that this work-life balance, the producers, the wineries, they really like it, because when the online wine tasting is finished, they don't have to start collecting the glasses, collecting the empty bottles, washing up the glasses, cleaning the room, and so on, but just click on X, they finish the online wine tasting and they go back. So this is actually what we see, and yeah, online wine tasting came to stay. I think this is what we can say, and we can say that it was not like this in the past, but it will be in the future. Yeah, because what you see here is lots of wineries are interested in it, are considering to offer something like this. There are also, of course, other points like all of the people, let's say, fed up with the lockdowns, and the willingness to travel is increasing. The people really they're waiting for the moment they can start traveling again and visiting places. So it will influences the amount of online wine tastings. So it will in the future, when lockdown is over and the world came back in a normal track, then it will decrease the number of online wine tastings. And the cellar door experience is the real experience. It's not what you can 100% replace by online wine tastings. But online wine tasting will remain, will stay, and maybe specialized on B2B. Yeah, so these business things, specialized on recruiting new consumers, specialized increasing loyalty, so entertaining the already existing consumers, I would say.
So can I ask them? I think you already gave the answer there, but if I rephrase it for my own sake, Corona was a driving factor in producing this phenomenon. I mean, I think that's a conclusion that we can somewhat safely draw from the initial data, and we all hope, of course, that this is going to subside at some point in the future. Do you think so? You do think, though, that these online wine tastings will continue in some form, even when conditions return to normal? You know, when there isn't a need to avoid hugging your friends or shaking hands with your colleagues. You think that there is still a future for online wine tasting despite that?
Yeah, definitely. So this is what we can see here. End of the pandemic doesn't mean end of online wine tastings, because people they got all of the advantages and they recognize that there are some advantages. Of course, there are also disadvantages, like everything, but they will use it. And there is one point. There is a certain group of consumers. They are interested in wine. They are interested in wine tastings, but they would never, ever visit a winery. And this is when the winery comes to your home, and you don't have to go to the winery to taste wines. So this is a huge segment. I would say in the wine tourism jargon, you would say secondary wine tourists. So not the primary wine tourists. They are keen to go there and they're yelling, go there. But they are the secondary. So they are in the background, much bigger group than the primary wine tourists in the background, and they need some triggers. They need some motivation. They are not very active. They are not so into wine that they are so motivated and said, okay, today travel 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers just to visit a winery. But when you have the opportunity to order the wines and to sit down in your living room or wherever you want, with your friends, without your friends, whatever, and you can taste the wine there within some entertaining contents and so on, then this is a point where I see lots of potential.
Right. Perfect. I can't believe time is running away here, and already it's gone 45 minutes, and I think this is the last slide of our summary of the report. Of course, the full report is available in one of the links that we'll be providing in the comments for you. But I thought we would have time for at least a few questions that came up from different viewers. And I'll start with this one here, Gergely. It touches a little bit on, we talked about B2B or B2C online wine tastings. And you did answer this a little bit. What do you think in the future? Will it be B2B or B2C? And here's the real question. will it depend on the country, and maybe more specifically on the type of export or the level of export from this country? And I think of our previous slide when we saw that, well, for B2B, there were two countries that stood out, Portugal and Austria, who both offered around half of all their online wine tastings were actually B2B. Does this have anything to do with the export profile of these countries?
I suppose yes. Back to the statements I said before, and facts that in 2020 lots of different wine events have been postponed and cancelled, and these wineries, when they had scheduled different meetings, they had to do this somehow. So this is one opportunity, and I think for the future. I was talking about this secondary wine tourist huge group before. This will be one direction, I think, of online wine tastings. The other way of online wine tasting, or the other direction of online wine tasting, will be, I think, something like this: is negotiation, meeting business partners, tasting together wine. And to be honest, it would be also a kind of sustainable way of business meetings, offering online wine tasting from home to home, so face to face, but in a virtual room. This is my expectation, that I think online wine tasting B2B will play a more important role than what we have seen here in this case, or for example in Germany.
Yeah. Do you think another question came up here? Do you think there's any role for these for any wine organizations to play? I'm thinking different interest groups or different supporting groups in the wine industry. It doesn't make sense for these organizations to support wineries in promoting online wine tastings, or is this online wine tastings? I mean, this is something that the wineries have to be able to handle themselves, or do you think this is valuable enough to be picked up on kind of an international level by some of these organizations and say, we're going to help maybe wineries that right now don't have the possibility to host online wine tastings? Let's support them and try to get this done. Do you think does that make sense, or is this simply something that wineries have to decide themselves?
Sure, we have seen some examples for this one. They were not international wine organizations; they were private companies. For example, in Germany, they offered a package. And when you bought this package, they help you with technical issues, with advertisement, and with a lot of things, and to get people they are interested in online wine tastings. So it's working already, and it's also kind of business model. But talking about international and national associations or wine organizations, I think yes, because it's like doing wine marketing abroad. This is not always like one company appears somewhere on the world and changes the motivation, the image of the wine of the original country. But it's mainly more companies or even a country. Yeah, it's a country image, country of origin image. So in this case, I could imagine that associations or national or international organizations bring different wineries together and then put a kind of common online wine tasting abroad, but it's actually, it was also in the past similar situation, but it was not online but live. Yeah. That the organization did something like this. So I can imagine that due to the restrictions, due to the lockdown, something similar will happen, or already happened. I'm pretty sure.
Gergely, I think this has been a great, fun hour with you to go through the report, and it is, of course, just a summary. I know we have some more questions here from our audience, but I think suffice it to say that we've been scratching the surface here, or giving you the summary of some of the major conclusions from the report. But I really encourage you to, if you have the time, go and read the full report, because you can dive much deeper in all these questions for individual countries and lots of other dimensions. And that report, we're going to have a link, as well as to the recording of this webinar, and I think the presentation material as well from this webinar. But I want to thank, again, everybody who's watching right now. I want to thank all the wineries who participated in making the survey possible, and of course all the wine organizations that also supported us. It's really fun to see this report be finished, and hopefully it will be valuable for everybody. Gergely, how do you want to summarize it?
Yeah, how would I summarize it? Yeah, it was a great. I mean, especially the fact that we started middle of January, and we finished. We started with the first discussion with winetourism.com, and now 2 months later we are presenting the data. So it was also this one for me a success story. But regarding the results, yeah, lots of surprise, lots of aha effects. What we realize, what we recognize, we have 100 pages final report. So have fun reading this. Maybe when you can't sleep before you go to bed, you can take this one and go through this. This is of course hardcore numbers and so on. But anytime when you have some special questions, we are available to ask, maybe not one by one, but in another form, to discuss these results. And funny point is actually that every time when I go through the presentation, every time I go through the final report, I always detect new details. I always detect new funny or interesting results and findings. So let's do the same with our report.
Well, if any of you have any questions or comments that you feel have been unanswered, then don't hesitate to contact us. I think we have there we go. We have the emails there in the slide. So feel free. We'd love to get your questions. And I think that does it for us. All that's left to do is thank everybody and wish you all a good night.
Thank you for all.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.